Hi there. Today I'd like to explain a little bit about the game, the little card game named Piepmatz. It's a game about little songbirds, from blackbirds up to a bunch of blackbirds, like this one. Here you have the name of the type, blackbird, the strength of the card, the score at the end, 3x, and the name in other languages. This is the blackbird. There are also a bunch of several finches, from green finch and bullfinch, and lots of other finches. The second type of card in the game are the cards with the seeds, seed cards, and they also have, if you collect these seed cards, you can also have several number of eggs at the end. You have to collect these eggs too to score a number of points. And there are also a few types of cards that limit your collection, like the crow. That's a little disturbance in the game, because then you have to give up one bird card, the bird card in the biggest collection from the same color. And if you get this card, the squirrel, you have to give up two seed cards at random, so you cannot choose. Another person in the room has to pick your seed cards at random. But I'm going to explain a little bit about the game and the setup and how you have to play the game further on. I'd like to explain a little bit about the setup and the playthrough of the Little Songbirds card game. This is the feeder base. We will be putting this at the bottom of the game. Next to it will be placed two cards with birds. These birds are actually eating the seeds right now. They will not be disturbed by other birds. These are the only ones. See the arrow? So this pointing to these two birds only. Later on in the game, the players can put their own birds besides in the waiting line, besides the other bird that is actually eating the seeds. They will not be allowed to pick feeds because they are waiting in a queue. So when will this be broken? This line will be broken when the strength, you have to compare the strength of the bird eating with the strength of the birds that are actually waiting. So it's only one bird waiting. It has a strength of 4. This is still lower than the bird at the feeder base, so this finch will not be allowed to eat instead of the yellow finch. But when another player is putting another card in line, like this one, the gold hammer, this has a strength of 4, but in total this line is worth 8. 8 is bigger than 5, so the player has a right to take the bullfinch in his own collection and put one of the birds that has a biggest value. It doesn't matter when it's equal. So put the 4 at the feeder base and continue with the next round. That's the most interesting rule about the birds at the feeder base. Then I have to explain another rule: the feeder, the seeds. We have to put 4 seed cards on top of the feeder base. When can you collect this one? So I told you before, there has to be a difference between the strength of the birds in line and the strength of the bird actually eating at the feeder base. So in this case it is 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 5 is 3. So at this moment you can collect this bird, but you can also take the third seed card. 1, 2, 3. The difference between the queue line and the bird eating. This is the third card, so you can collect the third card in your own collection. And then you can put a new card in line. This is actually a squirrel, no problem. So then I put another fourth card and I put the squirrel in the first card. So when there is a squirrel, this person that has a difference of 1 between the two strengths, that person has to also take the seed card and of course the squirrel card, and this means that he has to give up two cards from his seed cards, because the squirrel is very fond of the seeds. Indeed, he's stealing the seeds from the birds, so that's quite a prick, but he is actually cheating. But no problem. I will go away and take up a small round to show you more about the game. It's quite interesting and quite straight to the point. I put again these two birds next to the feeder base. I will give each person 4 cards. That's the start. These are the starting cards. And what's the idea about the game is to put a card next to a bird. There are only 2 birds with a 2-player game, and you have to choose. You can put a card this way that the strength is still lower than the strength of the bird actually waiting. So I put a 1. This means that I can put another bird with a 1, strength of 1 from my hand. From my hand. That's the idea. When you put a lower card, you can put a second card from your hand in your own collection. In your own collection, so not on the table. This means you have already some points, but this is a 1, so that's too low. I'm going to put the 4. This means it's still not higher, and then I can put my I'm going to put my 3, number 3, the blackbird. I'm going to put this in my own collection, and the difference is still okay. And then I have to take 2 new cards because I put 2 cards on the table. That's all. Then the next player goes further with the game. He can do the same. So he can put a very low number as to not to force the strength to go higher than the bird at the feeder base. 4. This means he also is allowed to put his a bird from his own hand, and that's the idea behind the game, to put birds in your own collection. But you can do this by picking them from the first bird or from your own hand. So when you put a lower card, this is a 4, it's still lower than the strength from the feeder base. Then I have to put another card from my hand that is equal to or lower than 4, the card I just put. So I put a 3 in my own collection, the chaffinch. This is also a finch. So I already have 2 eggs, 2 points, 2 victory points. When you put a bird in your own collection, you have no right to take a seed card because the difference is not higher. Difference is still 0 or lower. So this is only allowed when you take a bird from the first card. Then I have to take 2 new cards. The other player is playing his second round. He's going to put the 1, a card with number 1, the blackbird, Merula. This is 4 plus 1 is 5, minus 4 at the base. This is the first card from the seeds I get in my own collection, and it is worth 3 victory points, 3 eggs. That's nice. I put a new card at the end, and I can take the bird. It's a yellow hammer, a gold hammer, in my own collection. I put the card with the biggest strength, the 4, at the feeder base, and the other ones a little bit lower besides it. I take a new card, and I give the other player his new round. That way I can look further. I'm going to take, it's not allowed to look at the cards actually, so but I'm going to take another card like this one. 5 plus 1 is 6, minus 4. It's the second seed card I get. I get the bullfinch. The bullfinch in my own collection. It's worth 2 eggs. I put the strength that is highest at the feeder base. I put a new seed card, and then we get the first disturbance, the squirrel. This one has to be put next to the first card in line, the first seed card. So whenever the person that is playing gets the difference of 1, he gets also the squirrel and has to give up 2 seed cards. I have to take a new card. Then the next player again is in play. He has to put down a new card next to the waiting line. I'm going to try to avoid the squirrel. Maybe I can have the 6, the bullfinch, next to the waiting line. 6 plus 1 is 7, minus 5 is 2. I'll get the second card in line with the 2 eggs. I get the 5. This is quite interesting. I put a new card in line. I put the 6 next to this one, and I take a new card. Then I let the next player play his round. I'm going to take a card that is very high. Maybe this one. 6 plus 4. 6 plus 4 is 10, minus 4 is 4. I get the seed card from the top for my own collection. I pick a new card. This is also a squirrel. I put this at the second card, so there will be 2 cards that have a disturbance this time. I take the 4. I put the card with the highest strength at the feeder base. Then there is a little rule. When there is a bigger waiting line and you already have taken the highest card and you put the new card in at the feeder base, then you still have to count the difference, because sometimes there will be several times after each other a difference, and then you have to apply the rule again, and then you can take the card at the feeder base again and put the highest card from the queue next to the feeder base. But that is a rule that will be applicable when there are more than 2 or 3 birds in line. Next thing, I have to take a card again and let the next player do his game. I can have an example that is quite interesting, but I don't know. When you have the difference of 5, you can take the card from the deck. But I don't know if I will be able with this number in my hand. Maybe 6 and 1 is 7, minus 6. Okay, 7 minus 6 is 1. I'll get the first seed card, but I have to accept the squirrel. This means I have to lose 2 seed cards. That's quite a pickle, but I'm doing this myself, but normally another player has to take 2 of my seed cards. They are lost. Then I continue the game. This is a new one, the crow. This is also picking on the list of my birds. So the crow will be picking one of my birds from the collection, and you have to arrange your birds by color, and this is the one of the birds from your largest color range. So if you have more birds from blue than orange or any other, then you have to lose one of the birds of your blue of the chafing. I take a new card. I put this yellow bird in my collection and the black bird at the feeder base. I'm continuing the game by putting a new seed card. I'm going to take the cards of the other player. Maybe I can have... No. I'm putting this one down. 5 plus 1 is 6. This is the bullfinch. So this is still not bigger. This is just 0. This way I still can put a card down 5 or lower in my own collection. This would be nice because I already have the bullfinch, the female type, and I would like very much to put another bullfinch next to it, and this one is the bullfinch in the male type. If you collect these ones, if they are together, they are worth 5 points extra at the end of the game. So it would be interesting if you apply the rule of putting a lower card than the strength of the bird at the feeder base. So it is still possible to put down a card in your own collection if you would like that. But it's not necessary. You have to choose it yourself. I can take 2 new cards. And I'm continuing a little bit the game to show some extra things, some tips in the game. There is it is possible to have 5 or more indifferents, and then you have to take from the deck. I'm still looking into the number. If I put, this is already 0, this line, so if I put 5 next to this birds, next to this queuing line, 5, 5, 10, 11, minus 6 is 4. Okay, that's no problem. And this is 6 plus 5 is 11, 12, minus 6 is 6. So either way, I would have taken this card at the end of the row of the seats, because it is higher than 4. So I can take the bonus cards from the deck directly. I have to show it to everyone, and then I can put it in my own collection. It's no problem. I also take the bird at the feeder base because it has a lower strength and I have the right to take it. This is quite interesting. This way I collect 2 birds of a different type, male and female. So this is a couple, I get 5 points. I put the biggest number of birds at the top of the feeder base. I'm counting again, 5, 6, minus 6. This is okay, this is no problem. I take a new card. I'm continuing the game with the other player. I'm counting, and maybe I can take this bird, the 6 do I need. The blue ones are also interesting, but I don't know yet what to do with it. I can put the 6 besides it. 6 plus 4 is 10, minus 6 is 4. I would get this. But if I put 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 6 is 2. I'm doing this to explain a little bit about the action that is about to occur. This would mean I would get a second seat card, and then of course the crow. And the crow, that is a difficult card, because I have to give away a card from the highest color. Well, in this way there are 2 different types with the biggest number, 2 blue and 2 yellow. I can choose to give away one of the 2. I get the new card at the seats. I get a new crow. I want to take a new card. I'm taking the blue finch. Oh, okay. When I've taken the blue finch, I would have given away, indeed, this is a little bit tricky, because I should have taken the blue card first, and then there is a bigger number of items in the blue bird range. So I would have taken a bird from the blue cards and not from the yellow. That's okay. And I put the 4 in front. That's also okay. I would play a little bit further with the next player. I'm counting the difference between some cards. I want to try to take the fourth card, the fourth seed card. Maybe, but it's not possible. I'm still thinking about the other ones. It's also not possible. Look, I'm going to pick the fifth card. I put 5. 5 plus 4 is 9, minus 4 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm taking the fifth card. I'm taking the orange bird, and this way I would have a couple again. This is worth 5 points at the end. A male and a female bird from the same orange type. 5 extra victory points. And I'm putting the yellow card next to the feeder base because it is higher in strength than the other birds. I'm taking a new card. I'm continuing with the next player. I'm still looking to the fourth card because it has 3 eggs. So this is quite important because these are worth more points than the other bird cards. The other, but I don't see how I can take this card. It is a difference of 4. Maybe with this one, the green 5, the green finch. 4 plus 5 is 9, minus 5 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can have the fourth card with the 3 eggs, 3 victory points in my own collection. I have to take the 5 because I have a right to have this bird. It has 3 eggs, so I have also consolidated this these 3 eggs. I put the 5 in from the waiting line at the feeder base, and I have a new line of only 1 bird. I continue the game by picking a new card and letting the other player do his round. There is still some things that are to explain, but maybe I have to explain them later because most things are easy to play. It's not quite it's not a difficult game, but you have to understand some things about it and have to do a little strategy. It's not too difficult. It's really straightforward. I put the 3 next to the 4. That way I have 7 minus 5 is 2. I get the eggs, 3, but I lose a bird in the highest total number of and this is in this case the yellow. I have the blue birds only 2 cards, and from the yellow birds I have 4 cards. I give up the 5 because I don't want to give up the couple. That's worth more points at the end of the game. I'm putting new cards over here. I'm taking the 5. This is a new bird. I'm putting the highest card at the feeder base, and this way the game will continue on and on. When it only is finished when all seed cards are finished. So that is the end of the game. And also I'm finishing the game. I played a little bit further. Uh, there are no seed cards anymore at the top of the seed base. Uh, so when this happens, there are only 3 or 4 cards in the cedar base. Then the game is going to end. This triggers the end of the game. Every player that needs to have another round after the starting player is going to finish his game like before, like I told, and then each player has to choose from his 4 cards 2 birds that he's going to put in his collection and 2 birds that he's going to discard. Um, we have to be careful with the birds we choose, because in our collection we only get points for our birds when we have the biggest collection. So for example, in this game, the person with the blackbirds has the biggest collection, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and the second player has only one blackbird. So that means that only the first player has the right to count his points, and the other person has to discard his black cards. That's quite negative about the game, that you cannot count all points. But anyway, I'm going to try to put down some cards I can. Maybe I put down the blue for this first player, so then he still has the biggest number of cards concerning the blue. That would make him have 4 bird cards in the blue list, and the second player only has 3 cards in his list, 3 blue cards. And then the second player is going to discard 2 cards, and oh, he can put an extra blue, so he also have 4 cards in his list. That's quite interesting, because when there 2 players have the biggest collection and they have equal number of birds, they can count the cards. They don't have to discard. The second card, I don't know. The yellow is quite interesting. I'm going to put on a couple. Oh, maybe not. I put down this one also. That's interesting. I'm discarding the blackbird, the marilla, and I'm still thinking about the blue one, because I'm having a couple over here. Maybe, but I'm having 2 couples already. I think I'm going to put down the couple and put this other blue card away again. But anyway, then I have to collect my points from the different players. The first thing we need to consider are the couples. So I definitely get the points for each couple, a male and a female of each type. Any card, even if you have the lowest number of that color compared to other players, so that's not a problem. I have 5 from orange, 5 from blue, 5 from the blackbird, the 2 and 2 ones. So I have this one as a couple. That's 5 points. I have 2, bird of the strength 2, that's also worth 5 points. I'm having the blackbird with the strength 6, also a couple of male and female type. And I'm having the blue and the orange too, so that's 5, and again 5 is 10. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I'm already counting 25 points. I'm going to put this in a small list. 25 points for the first player, and the second player has 1, 2, 3 couples, so the second player has 15 points. Then I'm going to see the different number of each color. The biggest number, well, the blue one, the first player, has the most birds, so he can count his victory points, and the other player has to discard his bird cards. That's quite a pickle, but it's not interesting about this game, but I still like the game. You can play it any other way if you would like to have other rules. Never mind, that's okay, but I'm just showing you how to play the game. Like is the orange cards, the first player gets the number because the second player has less orange cards. The blackbird is also for the first player. In the case of the yellow bird, the first player has to discard his yellow cards, and in the case of the green finch, the first player has to discard the cards and the second player gets to count the cards. I'm going to count. This is worth 2, 4, 5, 3 is 8, 11, 12, 15 points worth concerning the birds. 15 points. And for the second player, 1, 2, 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16, 17, 19, 22. I'm counting the total of 22 eggs, 22 victory points in the bird cards that are allowed to count, and I still have to count the victory points from the seed cards. The seed cards contain 1, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, 13. First player gets 13 and the second player gets 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12 and 15. In total that makes 12, 4, 5. The second player has 52 points and the first player has 53. That's only a difference of 2, so that's quite a fair game. Maybe at first glance it's fair, maybe with different players or a different strategy, or players that are looking out for other things in the game, other strategies. I don't know, but it's quite a fair game. I've played it different times and it's very interesting. Have a lot of pleasure with the game and see you next time.